Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1.
Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Thursday edition of the JP Peterson Show with Nick Geddes from On3 Sports joining me. He is fired up today, folks. He is absolutely fired up on so many topics. We got a great show for you today. We got a couple guests in the first hour that are going to join us. Steve Carney's going to join us early on in the proceedings here to talk a little Rays baseball, and then we're going to do a little Buccaneers with Scott Reynolds. Good morning to you, Nick Geddes. Tell everybody what you're all fired up about. Tell them all.
I mean, good. I mean, if you've watched the Rays every night, first of all, I mean, that gives you that gives you every chance to get fired up, doesn't it? I had to put on the Skyrate hat today, which is, I put it in the back of my hat collection because I couldn't look at it anymore. But I had to bust it out today because I'm like, I need some fun. I need some excitement with that. But other than that, just some interesting discourse surrounding Caitlin Clark yesterday on the Twitter machine. See, this
wasn't that interesting.
If there was ever a reason to just, we should eradicate Twitter and just get off of it and understand that it's not real life, it was probably yesterday for me that I think I hit that breaking point with the things that I was reading surrounding that and some other topics. So yeah, when we get into it, I'll explain.
Well, listen, as I was telling you, because I know you're a really smart person and you don't engage in a whole lot of political discussion. And there's, more than a little bit on my Twitter feed. And, it's, I said, you think the sports fans are nutballs? Do that times 8 million, billion, whatever it is in terms of what it is for just in general, the world, outside of just sports. It's absolutely bonkers. But, it's important, I think, for those of your generation and my generation to understand what's happening and why it's happening. And it's unfortunately that ridiculous discourse of people wanting to do everything based upon what your skin color is, what your politics are, what your sexual orientation is. Everything has to be about identity politics, and it's seeped over now into sports as well. And it's sickening. You would hope that people could just live by the great words of Martin Luther King and be judged on the content of their character, not the color of their skin or their sexual preference we add, or their politics. So this is what happens. So we're going to get into a lot of different stuff here today. So we got a couple of guests early on the 11 o'clock hour. We're going to get into a lot of stuff involving NIL. Did you see the Jaden Rashada story? We didn't get a chance to talk about it yesterday. And as I kind of prefaced this the other day, this is not about bashing the Gators. This is about what's happening in NIL and what's coming down the track. If head coaches are going to be sued over NIL deals, we got major issues. So that the FSU lawsuit. So we'll talk a little college football and things that are going on in the college game, and we'll get into all these other topics as well. So Steve Carney will probably jump on us with us in a little bit. So let's get started on the Rays. And last night was just a microcosm of what we've seen all year, except they scored early. They actually scored 5 runs last night, which is good. They lost 8-5, got swept by a very mediocre Red Sox team that they took 3 out of 4 last week on, and should have swept. If not for a bonehead play in that game, that series, they should have swept them. But again, sloppy defense last night, which has been a hallmark of this team. Do you know this team defensively? I went and looked on, all the metrics websites this morning, which almost exploded my head. But from an offensive standpoint, and you look at all the advanced metrics, if you look at these certain numbers, XWOBA, which basically does contact, plus Ks and bases on balls. It's a great metric that just kind of measures your total offense. They're tied for last. They're tied for last in offense, which is not surprising, but it's like, oh my God, this is how bad this team is. The miracle of this team is they're not 10, 15 games under 500. That's the miracle. They should have a record like the White Sox. And pitching-wise, that same type of all-encompassing metric, they're 18th. They're 22nd in overall ERA, but they're 18th in overall pitching metrics, which you go, okay, that's kind of middle of the road. It's below average. And for a Rays team, it's horrific. It's horrific. So you combine, you suck on offense and you're not very good at pitching. You're last in the league in giving up home runs. You're last in, I think, hitting home runs, or 23rd in hitting home runs. The numbers just don't stop how bad this team is. And I got news for you. As Josh Lowe is headed to the DL again, same oblique strain, it ain't getting any better. Unless there is a major, major shakeup on this team, it's not getting any better. And Lord, and the way this is happening is we head through the summer and this team plummets to the bottom as they try to get a stadium deal and the Trop becomes more and more cavernous and empty. That's not going to be a good look. It's not going to be a good look. What the attendance is in the next few months shouldn't really have an overall effect on the next 30 years of this franchise, but it's just further confirming that this is not a good plan for the future in any way, shape, or form. Low payrolls, which will persist if you stay in that same area because revenues will still be much less than they should be in a market this size. So if you're a Rays fan right now, it's all bad, bro. It's all bad. And the good thing, the only hope I would see in this team is there are some good pitchers on the way. There are some good pitchers on the way, and you have some pieces that you can move. And if Eric Neander were given the opportunity to freely do what he needs to do in terms of adding payroll, significant payroll, he might be able to remake this team and save the season because they have done such a good job of actually winning games with such a terrible team. So that's the only hope I see at this point for this Rays team. Your thoughts?
I don't even know where to begin, really. And I'm just trying to ask myself, it's like, what are they really good at? What are they really good at? Bring
the great Steve Carney into this conversation.
And yeah, Steve's probably the best one to ask these questions to.
Extraordinary perspective of this team and teams past. What's up, Steve-O? How are you?
Oh, Steve, I think you're muted.
You're muted.
You're in.
You're muted. Unmute. I love this part of the show where we do hand signals. I think
I went to go and hit the mic button to turn it on, and I hit it twice to turn it off.
Double hit. Yeah.
Figures. Go ahead with technology. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I'm actually here in Dunedin at the player development complex that they have, their complex league games. I was telling JP this before the show got started. The Blue Jays and Phillies playing a complex league game at noon, and I get to be a part of that, which is always
cool. Yeah.
But yeah, to get into what you were talking about with what do the Rays do best right now? Unfortunately, that answer is they blow leads. that's their problem right now. And I was thinking about it, and I've seen a lot of people frustrated, obviously, and rightfully so. This team is not one that has inspired a lot of confidence over the last week or so, and that's a really big change from what we were seeing, on the last road trip. I thought they looked, really good in the last road trip, and they've looked really, really horrible here over the last 4 or 5 days, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that the pitching has not been up to snuff in any aspect, whether you're talking about the starting pitching, the relief pitching, it doesn't matter. All of it has not been up to snuff for this team to win.
I just ran through all the really bad numbers, so I spared you all that. They're bad. But my last point was, where's the hope of this team? And I said, to me, you still have some decent pieces on this team and some decent trade pieces that you have. And I think if Eric Neander were, given free reign to do what he needs to do, he could remake this team. And because I have a lot of confidence in the front office of this team and their intelligence to find gems where there are, around this league, undervalued players. It's something they do very, very well. But I think, there are just, and I'm not saying there's going to be a lot of takers, but for me, Savale, Siri, Brandon Lau, where else do we need to go, Nick? But those three, especially, I think I'm moving on from all three of them. And I know it's not easy, but I want to open up some spaces for younger players, go out and maybe find some players in other organizations, which is something we do very, very well, and just kind of remake this team. What are your
the problem with those three, JP, is that the other 29 GMs are seeing what you're seeing from them, and there's not a whole lot of trade value in any of those three. So I think that people that say, oh, you need to trade Jose Siri or you need to trade Brandon Lau, unfortunately, you're trading a weakness and hoping to get a strength back from it, and that's not how it works. You've got to trade from a position of strength in order to bolster a weakness. And right now, the one name that's out there that I think that you could trade to be able to bring back something in exchange that would help bolster is Zach Eflin. And I hate saying that, but I really do think
wouldn't have a problem with it.
Is that Zach Eflin is the name that's going to be bandied about. You've already heard that the Braves have been interested in possibly acquiring Eflin. He's got one more year on his contract. He's going to make, I want to say $18 million next year. I think that's the name that if the Rays are going to deal anybody and get something of significance in return, it's going to be Eflin.
And I wouldn't have a problem with that. Because of his salary next year, and maybe you can turn that money into a slugger, which would be nice to have one of those at some point in this franchise's history. And also, I hate to say this, but Randy Arozarena is a free agent next year, correct?
He is a free agent after next year. So
after next year, okay. So he's going to get another big arbitration. Well, if he keeps playing, he's playing, maybe not.
He's a Boris client, so
exactly.
You know that other teams know that he's going to go to free agency no matter what. It's not like you're going to be able to trade for Randy and then sign him to a long-term team-friendly deal. That doesn't exist in Scott Boris's mind, and so
right.
you're going to end up having Randy for. If you trade him at the deadline, you're going to have him for the rest of this year, all of next year, and then he's going to go to free agency. He's not going to get he's not going to get a Juan Soto deal. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Because he's 4 years older than Soto. I think that he's going to end up probably in that area where you might what Cody Bellinger thinks he should get is probably what Randy Arozarena is probably going to get after that.
Well, let me ask you about Arozarena, because I feel like we're all kind of like waiting for him to, I guess, get hot and everything. And I think we saw a glimmer of that in that Mets series. And it seemed and kind of just came and went, right? And it seems like we're back to square one a little bit. And you sit here today, he leads the league in strikeouts. And I think it's important to note, Steve, this isn't just like a mini slump anymore. Because if you go back to I know these seasons are separate, but if you combine going back to last season, right after the home run derby, which I guess has been like that line of demarcation with Randy, he's hitting under 200 going back to that. And that's over 400 at bats, I think, of a sample size at this point. So this has been going on for a while now. And yet he's in the lineup every single day, hitting second, hitting third, and not really making good contact or making contact at all. So how long do you think Kevin Cash, the leash is there, not to take him out of the lineup, but at least move him down a little bit, maybe from being from second and third every single night?
Well, Nick, then the question is, who do you move up? Because you've got to have somebody in those spots. And to be fair, Josh Lowe is now, dealing with more side tightness. So that's another piece that you can't put in that spot. Or do you want to move Brandon Lau into that spot the way he's been playing? Probably not. The point is that after Yandy, right now, there is a big question mark until you get to Isaac Paredes, and you've got at least two. You've got one or even two before you get to Paredes at the 4th spot. So I'm not putting Jose Caballero and I'm not putting Ahmed Rosario in that spot. I really don't think that either of those guys work. You might be able to move Richie Palacios up there if you want to put Paredes 3 and you go left, right, left that way, but even still, we're talking about a guy that isn't an everyday player. So I think that the real question becomes, you've got to put people in that spot. Right now, Randy is maybe the worst of the lesser of two evils.
Well, at least Brandon's come back hot. 0 for 11 since he returned.
I had somebody tell me he's going to the Alex Jackson School of Hitting right now. So,
hey, Brandon makes contact at least. I mean,
yeah.
he's had some hard contact. Alex, we're still working on that part of his game a little bit.
Yeah, it's weird because I've had people that understand how the Rays view the catching position is they understand that it is completely defensive, and anything that you get offensively out of a catcher is gravy. That's why Jose Molina stayed here as long as he did.
Yeah.
But Mike Zunino has been the outlier, a guy that has power and then can also control the running game. That I think is a big thing, and it's the reason why you're seeing Jackson as much as you are, and not just seeing Ben Rortvedt all the time, is because Rortvedt does have trouble controlling the running game. He doesn't throw guys out on the bases. Jackson at least is above league average in both of those aspects. So I think that's probably why you handle or you deal with the issues that he has at the plate. I thought that the other night against Boston, he ended up taking a couple of walks, which I thought was really good. That meant he was staying away from the off speed. I think that's huge for a lot of these guys, is recognizing the off speed and not swinging at it. Because if you can do that and you're swinging at fastballs, I think you've got a much better shot of getting out of your slump.
Steve Carney joining us here from stpete9.com. Steve, so I kind of gave my recipe for some hope what is the Steve Carney recipe for hope of salvaging this season?
The first thing is you got to get the starting pitching to be able to get through that second time in the order without falling apart. And I know that people will go, well, it's got to be Kyle Snyder. There are two sides of the coin. There are the adjustments, and then there are executing the adjustments. And I think Kyle Snyder and the staff is smart enough to have at least envisioned this possibility occurring and going, okay, we need to make adjustments. But then it's up to the pitching staff to make those adjustments and to execute them correctly. So it's not so much making the adjustments, it's the execution in those adjustments. Savali has had a big problem with it. Eflin's had a big problem with it. You saw Pepio kind of stumble yesterday. I think that, if they can execute those adjustments, and they've shown that they can, Pepio has gone 6, Tyler Alexander went 7 1/3 for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Tosh Bradley went 7. I think that they can make those adjustments and execute them correctly. And when they do, I think they're going to be able to be in games and able to win a lot more than they can right now. Because right now they get these leads, the pitching staff can't hold them, then they end up playing from behind late, which is never a good recipe.
No. Dare I say, and we had this discussion last week, but it just seems like there's just so little juice in this team that maybe a junior Caminero adjustment or elevation could be in the cards. Because
it could, yeah, absolutely. I certainly think that Caminero's promotion is imminent. I think it's going to happen here, and it's probably the way that the hitting has gone right now, sooner rather than later. Now, if Josh Lowe goes back on the IL, you could see him. If there's an issue with Brandon Lau and he goes back on the IL, you certainly could see him. I certainly think that his promotion, especially because of the injury aspects that they're dealing with, it is imminent. And I think I would not be surprised if Josh Lowe goes on the IL that Caminero isn't the call.
Oh, now you got me excited. All right, partner. Anything else we need to know that's popping in your brain about the Rays?
Well, let's see. I know that this the rest of this homestand is going to be difficult attendance wise. So if you're looking for a cheap night out, you can go see. Kansas City is one of the best teams in the American League Central.
Yeah.
With Matt Cutraro at the helm, and Bobby Witt Jr., one of the best young players in the league. And Oakland is not as bad as people think. So, but I was joking with somebody before the start of the homestand that I thought that the Rays would have a hard time in the 6 games remaining in the homestand getting the same number of attendance as they get for the first 3.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The Red Sox fans are going away. Brady Singer, I think, pitches on in 2 days. So
yeah, that's your boy. He's a Gator, right?
Yeah, talent. So yeah, it could be. Maybe he'll bring some people to the yard. I don't know. All right, Steve, tell everybody how they can get your content. stpete9.com.
Absolutely. stpete9.com, the Under the Orange Roof podcast dropping here as well. So we got some good stuff going on. Even though the team has been in a rough spot, they're still hanging around. The possibilities are still there. And who knows, this team takes off, we could be looking at another postseason series, or hopefully more.
Let's hope. All right. Thanks, Steve-O. Appreciate you. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, boys. Yep.
Enjoy the baseball today. Watching the young kids play. That's always fun. I tell you what, if you haven't been to a minor league game in years, they're fun. They're fun to go to, and the baseball's really good. And so is college baseball. I was watching a little bit of college baseball because it's all the tournaments are starting up, and it's fun. And they get good crowds. There's lots of energy. The baseball's really, really good. These players are really, really good. And it doesn't have some of the encumbrances of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, or the at least in this case, the struggles of watching this team. Yeah, so I guess I could extend here a little bit until we get to Scott about my thoughts on this team.
Yeah, please.
Because I was leaving off was, what did they do well? And I know Steve said not really anything at the moment. And, the numbers back that up. And remember last year they were hitting home runs like crazy and everything. And here they sit. They're 23rd in home runs.
23rd
in home runs. If you go to extra base hits, because we know there's single merchants.
Yes.
Doubles, they're 26th. Triples, they're 20th. And then guess what? They lead the American League in stolen bases. They're something good, but guess what? They also lead the league in getting caught.
Yeah.
Stealing bases. And then we've also seen their situational base running pretty much negates all of it because they can't do that.
Yeah.
But
they're not hitting. They're not getting guys on base, but when they do get them on base, they get thrown out.
Right.
So that's good.
Oh, but fielding, the Rays have always prided themselves on their great defense, right? Always had just great gloves all over the field. No. I watched it I'm sure you got into it yesterday. What happened on Tuesday night when the Rays gave away that game, and Brandon Lau just zero feel for Rafael Devers being right there, coming to second base and throwing home. Yeah, and first of all, Ben Rortvedt throwing an awful ball over there to make it more difficult, but also Lau just not realizing he could just tag Devers right there and then throwing one home, trying to get the fastest guy on the entire team out.
Let me jump to grab this ball, then land and try and get the fastest guy at the plate. That's just a great idea. When all I have to do is turn around and tag this guy who's slow as.
And then the starting pitching, it's like this has been a new trim with everybody. The other night, Taj Bradley through 3 innings strikes out like 8 of 9 batters, and I'm like, holy hell!
Yeah, I
mean, my goodness, we're shaped up to have a nice. We could have something historic. I don't know. And then he hits a wall.
Yeah,
and listen, Todd just got back. Okay, the stuff is still great, but it's just the idea. I'm seeing it. You saw it yesterday with Pepio. He starts walking people, hits a wall, and then here comes, our boy Dick Lovelady. I'm not calling him Richard. He's Dick Lovelady to me. And he comes in and just meh. That one unravels. It's like, what? They don't do it. And the thing they do good, all of a sudden, the thing they do really good is the back end of the bullpen looks fantastic, but they can't ever get the game to them to the point that Pete Fairbanks has to come in and just pitch yesterday in the 9th inning just so we could keep him working, because it had been 6 days almost since he had pitched, I believe.
Yeah. And that's an all-encompassing kind of suck.
It's an all-encompassing type of suck. And they just, to sum it up, they don't do anything really well. So how am I supposed to have hope in the immediate future? I'm not saying the season's completely over, because again, It's a miracle they sit here at 25 and 26.
Yeah.
And not like you said, where Chicago is at 15 and 35. But what's the concerning part, and this is what I said at the beginning of the year when we have these discussions about, hey, can the Rays figure it out like they always have? Well, you have to keep in account this. The American League has picked up. Cleveland is out to a 33-17 start, but guess what? The Royals are a game behind them. The Royals, the Twins are above the Rays. The Red Sox are above the Rays. Texas is 24 and 26. You think they're going to be kept down much longer? Probably not. Houston is starting to play good baseball again. The American League has picked up its play to the point that the Rays have all these other teams to compete around. And that's my worry right now is you're asking them to try to just sort of hover around and stay in it. But I don't know if they can get above 500 at this point. They just battled all the way to get 3-4 games of above 500, and now they've fallen right back under it. I think that's just what they are, JP.
Yeah.
I think that's just what they are, and if we just adjust the expectation to it, there you go. I don't know.
Well, and this is what I said, at the beginning of the season. I don't think this team is very. I didn't think it was very good. I said 85 win team. I don't think it's a postseason team. And if things go poorly in the injury front, it could get really ugly.
It's crazy.
And we haven't seen this in 5 years. We haven't seen this in 5 years.
With what?
When the Rays really suck. Like when the Rays really suck, it's bad. The attendance is embarrassing. It just becomes. It really points out the warts of the franchise, and which I mean,
yeah, even the 3-game series here against the Red Sox, you said the attendance being really bad, and for whatever reason this year it's been way worse than it was last year when it went up a little bit. But
I don't think there's as many. I don't know this for a fact, but my sense is their marketing is not what it was last year. This
team is also boring.
Boring as hell.
And last year's team was fun to watch.
They've had the Red Sox in, they've had the Yankees in.
But my point is, I've gone to so many Red Sox games over the years. The Red Sox fans were not coming to the games.
Yeah,
they weren't.
Were getting their ass kicked.
They just weren't. And then all of a sudden, in this 3-game series, every time the Red Sox would hit one down the line or something, there was like a roar a little bit, and I was just like, "Oh, that's odd."
They're back.
Like there was no Rays fans showed up. So I don't know. The whole thing's just been disappointing. It's a miracle they're 25 and 26.
As James says, the Orioles will crush the Rays. It's going to get uglier. Bad ownership has caught up to this team. I totally agree. They can't outrun the cheapness of this owner. Not as many fans making bad trades with Rays. Not as many teams making bad trades with the Rays anymore. Yeah. The Pirates bailed them out big time with that Chris Archer deal that led to a lot of good deals for the Rays. And, that's not going to, you can't count on that. Nathan says reality is the word fan is short for fanatic. I feel that St. Pete and the Tampa area have a lot more Rays followers and not enough fans to really support the team. Nathan and I will kind of agree and disagree with this as you add this as well. People can blame the Trop, blame location. People can blame the ownership. Bottom line is the majority of the area does not support baseball. Nathan, if you have a horrible stadium and a terrible location and you hate the owner, nobody's going to support baseball. You can't just say, oh, you're baseball fans, no matter how bad they spit in your face and no matter what they do, you should go to the games. It doesn't work that way. Not in the modern day. Back in, when there were 3 channels on TV and nothing else to do, people would support their teams, good, bad, or ugly. It doesn't work that way anymore. You got to give the fans some value. You got to give them a reason to go, like the Lightning. Great arena, great location, a beloved owner, great team, sell out, sell out, sell out. That's how it works. Okay. And there were times when the Lightning weren't selling out. You know why? Bad ownership. The team sucked. They did have a good arena, good location, although the arena was a little sparse in terms of amenities. But you got to have all 3 if you're going to have a successful franchise. And the Rays have struck out on all of them. Terrible location, America's ballpark for Nick. Terrible ballpark and an ownership group, even the previous ownership group. They've never had an ownership group that the people can put their arms around. In fact, they have to hold their nose. And that's not going to work, especially in Tampa Bay. So I'm not going to blame the fans and say this is a bad baseball area. Do it the right way, and you will get support. Look at the Lightning. And that's
well, like I said, last year there was incentive to go see this team play because they were very exciting. They hit a lot of home runs. They were relatively healthy. But this year, just the wheels they can't stay healthy. And Josh Lowe, by the way, I know Kevin Cash is like, day to day, but then he's like, yeah, not ideal. No, I go ahead and just put Josh Lowe on the IL right now. Mm-hmm. It's like they get one guy back. They try to get all these guys back. I talked literally on Monday. I'm talking about how formidable the lineup could look in the next couple weeks because all of a sudden you had some beef in there.
Right.
But it's like, here we are back to square one. And I have this strange feeling it's not going to be Caminero coming up. It's going to be Tristan Peters or it's going to be Cardenas. And I mean, to be fair, he leads Durham in home runs. I get it, but
we'll get them all up here.
I don't know.
Whole damn team.
I don't claim to have the answers to everything, but
why is Jose Siri still? Get him out. Move on. Let's go.
Well, I mean, to what Steve said, I do agree with that. The Rays are not going to negotiate from a position of not power, and they don't have any value right now.
Who cares? So you're going to keep putting them in the lineup and keep so they can hurt you twice? At least if you get rid of them and give other people an opportunity, something good might happen. Nothing is ever going to become good of Brandon Lau anymore. His time has passed. His back is too bad. I hate it.
I have so many thoughts on Brandon Lau. I have so many thoughts on Brandon Lau today. But I gotta have more time for that later, though.
All right, we'll do that in the second hour. Much more breaking down of the Rays and other stuff in the second hour. All right, we are brought to you by Hydrate Heroes. There you see it right there. All the good stuff, none of the bad stuff. No sugar. Only 5 calories per serving. Tastes great. All the electrolytes for hydration, and none of that terrible stuff that you'll get in some of these energy drinks. Boy, I read something on that today. Woo. Tryhydrateheroes.com. That's where you go to get your free 3 sample pack. Tryhydrateheroes.com. And we're also brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. They are local, they get results, and they are trusted. So give them a call at the Jeeves Law Group. Tell them JP sent you. Get a free case evaluation. Back in 3 with Scott Reynolds. Talk to Bucs. Stay with us. All right, guys, the Golden Diamond Source Memorial Day sale is here. Now, I know you guys are saying I don't have the money to buy a ring right now. Times are tough. What about this? 5-year interest-free financing, so you can buy a $5,000 ring and only pay $83 a month. You got $83 a month to put the ring on the finger of that special person. That's right, $5,000 ring, only $83 a month. So that's 5 years interest-free financing. And of course, the Golden Diamond Source has the best selection. They have the best customer service. And when you shop at the Golden Diamond Source, you can proudly say our jewelry changes lives. We tell you this all the time, folks. The philanthropy of Julie and Steve Weintraub is incredible. Their entire staff very much involved in their philanthropy. The Hands Across the Bay charity helps so many abused women throughout the years. So this Memorial Day, pick a jewelry store that makes an impact. And don't miss their 5-year interest-free sale. It's the Golden Diamond Source, centrally located right there, 3800 Omerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA 2-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom. You want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or try to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. Are you looking to be more productive and healthier? Do you know chronic dehydration affects your overall health and well-being? 75% of the U.S. population suffers from dehydration, and many of us don't even know it. That was me before I was introduced to Hydrate Heroes. 8 times the benefits with hydration. A beverage with benefits more than just hydration. That's right, 8 times the benefits with hydration. Hydrate Heroes provides a refreshing, great-tasting beverage powder to mix with water, providing elderberry, zinc, vitamin D, electrolytes, amla fruit, which provides a great source of vitamin C, along with a proprietary mushroom blend that has shown to help increase endurance and energy at the cellular level. Hydrate Heroes is so confident you're going to love the taste and the results. They are offering our listeners a special offer, a free 3-pack sample, no credit card needed. Just go to the jppetersonshow.com, the jppetersonshow.com, and click on Hydrate Heroes logo. Hydrate for health today with Hydrate Heroes.
Let's go! Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the J.P. Peterson Show here. We're awaiting the arrival of Scott Reynolds, who was out at I just got a text from him. He's like, damn, 10:30 came early this morning. All right, so Scott's getting his hair right, and he'll join us here in a little bit. Well, it gives us an opportunity.
Right. Making sure that mic sounds beautiful.
Right. It's professional. Good. Well, we can clean up some of these great comments we got going here on the Rays too as well, so that's good. James says, easy schedule. You fed 500. Just wait after the Orioles series and Yankees again. Also, to not have a competent catcher after all these years is pathetic. Jackson hitting 0-20. Serious.
He's hitting 0-20, but he's really good behind the plate. So, you know what's funny? Rortvet and Jackson have combined to hit 7 for 62 in the month of May. That is a 113 batting average.
When it's that bad, does the good defense even matter? When you're that substandard offensively, there's such a hole in your lineup.
I mean, Pinto obviously could hit better than that, and Pinto's killing it in AAA. I know it's AAA, but
you got to.
I don't know what you do there. I don't know what you do. I know they want Jackson because if they have Pinto and Rortvet, I mean, it's going to be little league out there on the base paths. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, because the catcher, when you're trying to control the running game, especially the bigger bases now, that's him affecting the entire game, right? Right. Whereas when you suck at the plate, that's only one spot in the order.
It just seems like they always come up though in a big spot.
Well, and again,
it's like it always finds you when you're struggling. It always finds you.
Keeping good catchers costs money, and we've had some.
I hate it because catching has had a revival this year in baseball. Yeah. Catching, there are some great hitting catchers, and the Rays got none of them.
None in the pipeline, as far as I know.
They're all in AA.
People can blame we already did that one. Watching the Rays is depressing, says Yeezy, especially at home. No juice. Agree. James says, just great. Josh Lowe, our best power hitter down now in the DL. Yep. Lonnie Wilkins, I blame travel ball leagues for burning out all these arms and teams not really wanting to win a World Series. There's a lot of teams now that have just gone the Rays way and they're just making money, and they've got terrible. I mean, they're not even trying. They're just keeping the payroll low and just banking all that general fund money and revenue sharing money that they get. Sounds familiar. Nick, the reason they're 25-26 is they played the Angels and White Sox. Right now, you will see them get schooled by better teams.
They struggled to beat those teams.
I know. That's the scary part.
They didn't even put those teams away with ease.
Nathan says, exactly. Tampa Bay fair weather followers do not deserve the Rays. Bro, are you a fair weather fan when the ownership it spits in your face and tells you that you're not a major league
I'm not
city?
I'm not gonna entertain anybody who tells me the Rays don't have fans. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, they do. It's just like
I'm not entertaining those conversations today.
Let's do what the other teams have done. Put the fans first and see what happens. In terms of ballpark, location, et cetera, et cetera. All right, our man is here, and the hair looks fantastic. Boy, that was quick.
Thank you.
You got the hair looking that good in just a few minutes.
It always looks this good. I'm just kidding, of course.
You jump out of bed, it looks like that. Fantastic.
Some mornings I have bedhead, but
Scott Reynolds, Pewter Report. What's up, my friend? How are you?
How we doing? Doing good. Sorry.
I need you big time today, Scott, because we've talked about the Rays for like 30 minutes.
Save us from the Rays.
I can't believe this, but for the first time ever, I'm coming to the Bucs.
That's good.
Like, look for positive stuff. And of all the Tampa teams, they're the most positive right now. So
they are.
Here we
Haven't lost a game yet. Haven't played a game yet either. But
but they've done all. I mean, and I know I really do. I do really try and be, objective about this team, and I think both of us have done a really good job about it. It's hard because it's the team you cover, it's your bread and butter, but the fans expect us to be objective, or they're not going to read Pewter Report or watch the show, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I keep hitting myself, like, what am I missing? What am I missing here? It just seems everything seems to be freaking unicorns and rainbows. I mean, it's what is there something we're missing here? I mean, I know they're not perfect. I'm not saying that, but it just feels like they've really addressed every one of their needs in spectacular fashion.
I would like to believe that last year's Bucs team was the 2022 Detroit Lions. That was a Lions team that finished 9-8. That was on the come. They didn't make the playoffs that year. They missed it just a little bit. Yeah. But there was a hunger in that Lions team that they knew they were better than 9-8. And that propelled them to win the division championship last year in the NFC North, and propelled them to beat the Buccaneers in the divisional playoff round and get to the NFC championship game. I'd like to think that the Bucs are on the coattails of the Lions in that way, in that the 2023 Buccaneers were the 2022 Lions, and that the 2024 Buccaneers could be the 2023 Lions, which means I'm not saying they're going to the NFC championship game, but I mean, I don't know how you can look at this team and the roster that Jason Light and Todd Bowles have built and not see some improvement and some progress. And I like to think that the floor for this team, if they stay healthy, the floor for this team is probably 9 wins again. And it feels like a double-digit winning season to me. And that could mean 10 games, right? That could mean 10. And 10 might get you the NFC South Championship again. It might get you a wild card. We'll see how the other teams do in the division. But it feels like this team is taking the steps from 8 wins to 9 to 10. They're moving in the right direction. And listen, I know, because I was one of those people that was putting a spotlight on Todd Bowles, especially when this team was 4-7 last year. And if they don't win at Carolina, they're 8-9, and there's probably a different head coach, right? But that didn't happen. They won the division. Todd Bowles pitched a shutout with his defense in Carolina, and then they go on to trounce the Eagles at home. And I know the Eagles were slumping at that point in time. Okay, well that's fine, but then you do the job that you're supposed to do, which is destroy them, which is what happened, right? You have to give the Buccaneers credit for doing what they did. And then they go toe-to-toe with the Lions on the road. That's a very tough environment. And it's tied going in the fourth quarter, right, against a very good Lions team that is just better than the Bucs right now. And so I'm inclined to believe, I don't believe that you could pick up exactly where you left off, right? This team was what, 6-2 down the stretch, including the 1-1 record in the postseason. That's really good, right? And I don't know that they pick up necessarily where they left off, but I do believe that this team has some headwind, like in its back, pushing them a little bit. I think there is some momentum that this team can build upon. Continuity is king in the NFL, and
that's right.
The Buccaneers are one of the more like steady teams in terms of Jason Light is entering year 11. Todd Bowles has been with this team since 2019. He knows the DNA. I think he got better as a head coach last year.
I do
Still
too.
has some things to work on, but you know what? So does Baker. So does Mike Evans, right? So does Levante David. So I'm inclined to believe, until I see otherwise, that this team can take steps forward. And I think that Liam Cohen's going to be an upgrade over Dave Canales.
I know you mentioned Bowles got better as a head coach, and I agree with you. And we're not talking about his job anymore, nor should we really at this point. But is it still fair to say, like, of all the great things about the Bucs and the roster and how we like the draft and the schedule and everything, Todd Bowles is still, like, I don't know if weak link is too harsh, maybe, but maybe my biggest concern, I guess, still, because he could sometimes lose the Bucs a game.
Yeah.
I mean, or two. Throughout seasons. Like, is that all fair to say, even though he did get better last year?
Yeah, I mean, he has to improve. He's got to continue making strides, right? Like I think towards the end of the season, and it didn't really manifest itself in the last game, right? Because he had a timeout in his pocket, but we saw down the stretch actually use some timeouts in the first half, which which is shocking development, exactly. So I think if he continues to make some strides as a play caller, as as a game manager, right?
Yeah.
As the head coach, I think this team can continue to ascend. And to your point, Nick, he's not going to be the one holding the team back, right? When it's a close game, he's not going to make the time management, game management, timeout usage mistake that it is going to be deadly. And and again, I think on the other side of the ball, you look at Todd Bowles. This is his third offensive coordinator in 3 years.
Yeah.
The last time that's happened at Tampa, it did not end well for Tony Dungy. He went from Mike Shula for a couple of years, and then Les Steckel in 2000 in the 2000 season, and then Clyde Christensen in the 2001 season. Right, back to back to back. Dungy was fired after that. So I don't know that Todd Bowles is necessarily in that jeopardy. We'll see, but you have to give him credit because he was the head coach that got this team into a 4-7 record, but then also dug this team out and went 5-1 down the stretch. And in the games where it mattered the most down the stretch, he got the stop against the Falcons after the Bucs took the lead. That was a very similar game to that Houston game, right, where his defense let the team down at the end after Cade Otton scored the go-ahead touchdown in Houston. But then fast forward to the end of the season, that was a very pivotal game at Atlanta. Cade Otton scores the game-winning touchdown, and the defense gets the stop this time, right? Then you've got going up to Lambeau Field and kind of putting Jordan Love, in a box, and the offense really came to life that day, but so did the defense, right? And then when you needed that shutout, the offense was that was not exactly the best audition for Dave Canales, scoring 9 points at Carolina in Week 18. Baker Mayfield was hobbled, probably should have thrown 3 first-half interceptions. Thankfully, the Panthers defenders dropped every one. It is what it is. They got to shut out that game, right? And then we talked about his defensive masterpiece against the Eagles. I mean, stop the tush push.
Yes.
Only allowed one touchdown, I mean, got a safety in that game on the defensive side. So now he's got the entire offseason to figure out 2 things: how to stop Brock Purdy and how to stop Jared Goff. Those 2 quarterbacks have been his kryptonite, and he's got all offseason to really kind of, game plan for him. And the great thing is you get the Lions in week 2. So it's really hard to do any game planning for any opponent down the stretch because you don't know who's going to start. You don't know who's going to start in your team. Injuries, players can rise and fall. But the first 2 games of the season, Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders and Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, you can game plan for those because there's not much that's going to change from week 1 to week 2. You played the Lions twice last year, so I would expect Todd Bowles to have a better game plan, a more effective game plan against Goff in week 2. And you know what? Jaden Daniels is kind of an unknown, right? There's going to be some season opening surprises for this Bucs defense for sure. But at the same time, he is a rookie quarterback, and this Bucs defense needs to rise to the occasion and take care of business because there have been some rookie quarterbacks, Brock Purdy being one in his first start against the Buccaneers, a
Marcus
couple years
Mariota.
ago.
Do we remember the Marcus Mariota?
Yeah, but I do remember that, and that was nightmarish. Certainly, because that was the head-to-head matchup with Jameis Winston.
Right.
But Todd Bowles wasn't the defensive coordinator that
option things. And I was like, oh, who could have seen that coming?
Oh,
Never saw Marcus Mariota do that,
Yeah.
except the last 3 years in college.
Yeah, I mean, Lovie Smith clearly didn't watch any Oregon film at all, because he's like, wow, they're doing RPO again and again and again and again, like 4 touchdowns later, So, but
Ooh,
I mean,
that was a bad flashback, man. I feel like
that was awful.
LSD trip.
I just went back to like that stadium of sitting in section 236 or whatever it was. I'm back there now mentally.
Money for that.
Yeah, Jameis Winston's first NFL pass was a pick six.
Pick six, yeah. So was his
sign
last
of things to
and
come.
we all sat, and we were all standing for that pass, and we all sat down and we're like, well, we still suck.
Yeah,
we still suck.
Yep. So having said all that,
I need to derail the program.
Bowles needs to, at this stage of the game, with his defense, which it's got some young pieces, but these are veteran players now. When you've played 16 games in the NFL, you're no longer a rookie. Like you're a veteran. So Kalijah Cansey, Yaya Diaby, Zion McCollum, these young players that are going to play alongside Levante David and Vita Vea on this Bucs defense. They got to rise up and they got to treat Jaden Daniels like the rookie that he is. And get that week 1 win. That's crucial.
I'm scared though. That Jaden Daniels, woo, he good.
He's good. Yeah, there's no doubt.
But
I'd rather get him in week 1 than later in the season when he kind of figures it out there a little bit.
Yeah. And you mentioned the young players. I think this is key. And when you look at the mix of this team, you've got a good mix of veterans who are still very much, I think, productive players. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, great leaders. But you got a really good young nucleus, and I will put Tristan Wirfs in there and Luke Gedeke in there and Kalijah Cansey in there.
Yeah.
Who am I missing? Rashad White. Yeah. I mean, and these guys are plus guys. I think they're going to be plus players.
Yeah.
So that's how you win Super Bowls. You got to have good young players who are productive and starters. And we've gotten that, 10 starters last 2 draft classes. This draft class, I think, is going to produce at least another 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So you've got that good young nucleus, but you got those difference makers. And in Baker Mayfield's kind of somewhere in the middle, right?
Right.
That traditionally has worked well in the NFL, right?
Yeah, it has. And it's all about the assistant coaches on this team getting these players to level up, right? Yeah. Like Rashad White has got to be a 1,200-yard rusher this year, right? Yaya Diaby needs to be a double-digit sacker this year. Kalijah Cansey needs to bump double-digit sacks, right? It's time to level up. Zion McCollum did everything but get interceptions last year. He needs to get like 3, right? And Jamel Dean, I hope he was paying attention, because the Bucs let a high-paid cornerback leave via trade because he was oft injured and couldn't pick off passes. And what does Jamel Dean become? A high-paid corner who's oft injured and can't pick off passes. So, that was a preview of coming attractions, Jamel. If you don't want that happening to you, you better catch the ball and do your damnedest to stay healthy. Sometimes, it's hard to fault players when they get injured, because this is a collision sport, not a contact sport. This is a collision sport. But there are some things you can do to avoid some of those soft tissue injuries, and he's going to have a bounce back season. He's now CB1. He's got to play like cornerback 1. And Zion McCollum, has got to do his best to stave off Bryce Hall, who Kevin Ross, the cornerbacks coach, thinks is starting caliber. And I do too. And so, it's time to rise.
Oh, I think one of the position groups I'm keeping close tabs on is probably that outside linebacker room, the edge room, because by my count, you probably have
battle royale.
Yeah, you got like 7 guys, I think, by my count, that could probably make that team, and you're maybe looking for 5 spots, 6, maybe. We'll see how other positions go. But I guess the name I'm always looking at is Joe Tryon this year, because it is his contract year. Do you think he could potentially be the surprise guy that's on that roster cut this year? Or will they let him play out that 4th year?
It's funny because I thought you were going in a different direction with the question. Can he be that surprise guy that really steps up and earns a second contract in Tampa?
Oh, Scott, we're long past that.
Then you turn to the curveball with and be a training camp cut.
We're long past that.
Is this salary guaranteed?
Some of it is. Some of it is, but it's a couple $1 million. And if they do release him, they actually save some money. I think it's less than $1 million, like 800, 900,000, I believe. So, you know,
he better step up.
Really, the guy that needs to step up is Anthony Nelson. He's making $4 million in base salary this year. He's got a cap figure of over $5 million. He's actually the highest paid outside linebacker.
Really?
In the room. Yes. Yeah. Because he signed a 2-year extension after his rookie deal.
He's sneaky good, though.
He is. And Todd Bowles loves it. He's a high football IQ player. He's a steady Eddie, good length, 6'7", 271.
Yep.
Stuffs the run, sets the edge. Does a lot of things well. He's like a super sub, right?
He really is. Yeah.
He's one of those guys that Todd Bowles does not have to worry
he's
about.
Worth $4 million. I think he's worth.
I agree.
Every bit of it.
I agree.
Yeah.
But the thing is if Chris Braswell is dynamic, if Yaya Diaby is
got to get him on the field.
Right? If Joe Trine-Shoyinka proves his worth as a joker who can drop in coverage and rush the passer and do some different things as a chess piece in Todd Bowles' defense, if Randy Gregory can, on this 1-year prove-it deal, be dynamic, if Marquise Watts can show up and be dynamic, and Anthony Nelson's the steady Eddie, if Todd Bowles says, crap, man, I got 5 or 6 dudes that are dynamic and I got a steady Eddie. I'm not saying that Anthony Nelson doesn't have value and you don't keep him, but it's like, this is a guy in year 6 who we know what he is, right? At the most, he's a 5.5 sack guy, but man, we got some up and comers here. Jose Ramirez might be another one, right? So I'm just saying, this is going to be a battle royale at outside linebacker, like the old school 1980s, wrestling, where
coming off the top turnbuckle.
It's all the stars in the ring and they're throwing each other out. It's last man standing. So it's going to be fun. I mean, that to me as a defensive guy, I'm watching that training camp battle more than any other, because I just think that there's a lot of young, untapped talent here. And then it's just a matter of show me what you got. You're going to have X amount of reps because we got a bunch of guys to work through.
Mm-hmm.
You better make the reps count.
Who, OTAs this past week, I did not make it. Hope to be there on this next Tuesday. Who caught your eye? Who had we forgotten about that's back out there? Kind of, that guy who just comes back and makes a little bit of a splash. Anybody in that category? I would put Chris Godwin there, although I thought he was very candid about his injury and how much better he can be this year. I think he's going to have a huge year this year.
I think so too. I mean, so here's the thing about Chris Godwin. Let's talk about him for a second.
Yeah.
He's the guy on paper, like when you're playing Madden franchise mode, right? And you're Jason Light, you're the GM of the Buccaneers, and this is all on the screen, on the paper. You look at the salary cap. All right, he's making, $29 million, whatever it is this year in terms of his cap value. And he averages $20 million a year, right? He's going to be 29 next year. The touchdowns have gone from 9 to 7 to 5 to 3 to 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Evans gobbles up the touchdowns in the passing game. So you think, all right, well, they got Jalen McMillan. Trey Palmer's going to be, getting better. Maybe you move on from Chris and use that money elsewhere. Then you hear Chris Godwin talk. And you see him show up. And he's there every stinking OTA practice. And he's got the C on his chest. And he loves football. He is a Levante David, Mike Evans, Antoine Winfield type of person, character. And he will give you everything he's got, with the ball or without the ball in his hands. And you sit there and you say, how can this team go on without this guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's different. On paper, you move on, right? You look at the young guys and getting more reps, and 29, he's going to be 29 next February, $20 million or whatever he's ends up getting worth. I bet you he balls out this year. I bet you he has a fantastic Mike Evans type season. It may not be 13 touchdowns or 14 touchdowns, but if it's 7, that's a huge number for Chris Godwin, because he is second fiddle in the red zone. He just is. And why wouldn't you not throw the ball to your 6'5" Hall of Famer, right?
Tight windows. Yeah.
But I think that Chris Godwin does ball out this year in the familiar role. Some guys
the slot receiver
just have a knack playing in the slot. On the defensive side, Rondé Barber just had a knack for being in the slot, making interceptions, blitzing off the edge, stuffing the run. He could do it all from the slot. He was really good outside too, but man, just a magic man in the slot.
Because he's in the middle of everything.
Because he's in the middle of everything. He knows He knows how to navigate.
Instincts come into play.
The traffic and the garbage and find the ball. And it's different inside than it is outside. And it's the same way for wide receivers. Some wide receivers just they're so much better. Give me one corner and one safety to beat and give me that sideline, and I can work it and I can fly and I can do the comebacks and I can, do the back shoulder, fades. I can do it all. But then going inside, navigating the middle of the field, right? With defensive ends dropping in coverage, with linebackers in zone, with safeties coming down either, in bracket coverage or man-to-man in the slot, with nickel corners, right? And Godwin just has a knack for finding holes in zone, for beating man coverage across the middle of the field, whether it's vertical or whether it's a drag route or a skinny post or whatever. He just has a knack for doing it. He's really good at doing that. And so you put him where he's going to thrive, and it's just a win-win. The Buccaneers are a better offense when he's in that role, and Chris Godwin's numbers are going to be better in a contract year in that role.
And contested catches with people around him, which is what slot
Tough
receivers
guy.
have to do. He's as good as there is in the league. I really believe that.
Yeah.
And I think also Chris is also a guy, I would say kind of a Stamkos guy, where he knows he's not the number one anymore.
Yeah.
Right. But he knows he's a damn good two.
Yeah.
And he's made a lot of money.
That's right.
He's made a lot of money. And I wouldn't doubt if Chris Godwin just sticks around here for a few more years and the Bucs are the beneficiary of a great leader, a fantastically productive player, and who just gets results. So,
and you know what?
If people think, it'll be nice to have him this last year, I don't think he's going anywhere.
And doesn't that kind of because I was going to bring this point up, it's like, hasn't Jason really proved the guys he's drafted and that have developed here? I mean, going all the way from Mike Evans all the way down. And I think this is a significant thing. And I think you've mentioned this before, Scott. He puts it out there hey, if we draft you and you become a Buccaneer and you ball out, I am going to pay you. We're going to pay you.
Winfield, right?
Right. I mean, and I know Wirfs is not signed yet, but we know it's going to happen, and he's going to become the highest paid offensive lineman in the history of football, probably. And I feel like you look around the league, there's always drama when all these sorts of things happen.
Yeah.
And I don't really see that. Take Devin White out of the equation. Yeah. I don't really ever see that with this Buccaneer team. So I guess it wouldn't surprise me if Jason said, okay, I know logistically maybe not keeping Chris is the right move.
Yeah.
But then again, keeping him is.
Yeah. I mean, you can certainly say that for sure. And to touch on Tristan Wirfs for a quick second, it's this is not Devin White 2.0. And I think there's some fans out there that might get some PTSD when they read that, he's skipping the off-season workouts. First of all, voluntary. Okay. Second of all, the difference between Devin White's situation and Tristan Wirfs is White wanted a fifth year or did not want to play in the fifth year option. He wanted a contract extension. Both the Bucs and Wirfs want a contract extension, right? That's the difference is they're talking about doing an extension. I don't blame Tristan Wirfs one bit for staying off the practice field.
I'm glad he is.
Yeah, I am too.
Scott, I'm glad. I don't want him out there. I don't want no need for him to. Now he's getting the reps, mental reps, and learning the offense. He's doing all that.
He played left tackle last year, right? He did that for 19 games. He's got that down. He's going to get better this year. He's doing everything but the on the field stuff. He's lived in the weight room. Every time there's been a press conference, he's popping in from the weight room to watch Baker, watch Mike, all these guys. So I'm not concerned about that at all.
I really don't want him out there.
I'm with you, and it's a smart move. And trust me, I think the team secretly kind of feels the same way. They're probably because here's the thing: he's guaranteed $18 million, right? And hey, look no further than Ryan Jensen, right? And that was a contact injury,
right?
In a non-padded practice, right? That was essentially because the first
same thing they're doing now
in training camp are OTAs again. That's really all they are. Because the pads aren't on. And so that was the second day of training camp. Logan Hall got blocked into his knee by Aaron Stinney and career-ending injury. So if you're Tristan Wirfs, the only thing that's guaranteed right now is $18 million. And that's a lot for you and I, and we would be happy to have our knees crushed for good to cash in on $18 million. But Tristan Wirfs he's a Hall of Fame caliber player who on his next deal is going to be getting at least 40 million, probably closer to 50 million guaranteed. Okay.
I think way more than that. Actually,
well, I'm saying at least, JP, like at least 14 million, which is more than double what he's guaranteed right now. Yeah. So yeah, do not step on that practice field in OTAs, minicamp, or even the first week of training camp if it goes that long until you get a deal done.
Yeah. 100%. That people worry about him. Do not worry about him. He's not going anywhere, and he doesn't need to be out there.
Yeah.
All right, partner. Anything else catch your eye out there this week that we need to talk about, or let me know what you guys are doing the rest of the way this week?
Well, I will say this: kind of a big show today. Jason Light, Bucs general manager, is going to be on our podcast at 4:00 today live. So all you got to do is go to Pewter Report TV. That's our YouTube channel at 4:00 and watch it. And if you're not able to watch it live, you can always go to Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel, and watch our archived podcast. They're all there. I've also got some Pewter Pulse videos, including a latest one on Tristan Wirfs. And you can subscribe. We have over 14,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. It's free. It says subscribe. You just hit the button. Boom. That's it. It's absolutely free. And also hit the notifications every time we have a Pewter Report podcast or a new video we put up. You're going to be notified about that. You can follow us on social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report. And, of course, visit the mothership, pewterreport.com. Already have 2 stories up today. We got a third and a fourth coming later this afternoon. So plenty of off-season content on pewterreport.com.
And real quick, Nathan Elliott wants to know what type of beer you'll be drinking on the 2025 Buccaneer fan cruise.
Well, Nathan, I heard that they have an old-fashioned station on the cruise. So
when is the cruise? I might have to partake this year.
We're going to be there. Join the fun, man. It's Pewter Report's going to be there March 7th through 10th, 2025.
Okay.
The official Tampa Bay Bucs cruise. It's going to be leaving out of Fort Lauderdale with stops in Key West and Bimini, Bahamas. So
nice.
It's going to be a great time. They're one of our advertisers. Just a full disclosure. Yaya Diaby, Rashad White. They had like 15 Buccaneers. Warren Sapp was there last year. Gene Deckerhoff. They've already got a commitment from Derek Brooks. So
nice.
Should be fun. It's if you're a Buccaneer fan, why wouldn't you go on that? I mean,
it's right in the middle of my Bucs, my Lightning playoff push, but
well, I'm sorry that
you don't have a home game.
I'm sorry that you're going to be sick those days, JP.
Somebody needs to give me a good sales pitch, because that's the week that me and my wife our anniversary is for our wedding anniversary.
There you go.
She's already told me she wants to go to like Sonoma or Napa or something like that. Okay. But a Buccaneers cruise.
The Buccaneers cruise happens once a year, Nick. So there you go.
Yeah.
And you know what? Hey, you know what, babe? You want to go to Key West and Bimini, Bahamas? Let's go on a cruise. Oh, wait, they're having Buccaneers here.
You didn't have to mention the Bucs at all in the sales.
Exactly.
Yeah. Except you'll be in all the panel discussions the whole time.
I'll just disappear from time to time on the boat.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! Look, there's Yaya Diaby. What are you doing here, Yaya?
Shocking development. All right, Scotty. Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
You got it, guys. Appreciate
it. I got a couple. The last cruise was the cruise to hell, MSC cruise, where hey, let's sail into a hurricane. Oh, okay, that's a great idea. Appreciate that. Anyway, yeah. So hopefully March you'll get much better with that. All right, lots to chew on there. I want to talk some more Bucs in our second hour. We got lots more to talk about. We're going to talk about Caitlin Clark. Nick's going to go off on Ricky Stenhouse as well, and Brandon Lau defenders. You can tease it, man. You're the one that's going to drive this train.
Yeah, I got a problem. I mean, I love my NASCAR, I love covering the sport, but I got a problem with some of the leaders there from what they did yesterday. And
agreed.
You Brandon Lau defenders on Twitter you're getting on my nerves, and I don't respond to any of you. I see you. I don't get involved with you on Twitter because I hate Twitter spats. But you brought me close this week.
You almost pulled
really
the trigger.
Close.
All right, we are presented by Hydrate Heroes. Tryhydrateheroes.com is where you go to get your free 3 sample pack. You will not be disappointed. 5 calories per servings, all the good stuff, not the bad stuff. I got to tell you about what I heard in the next hour about some of these energy drinks, what they put in them. Oh my God. I don't know if I'll ever drink one again. So we got that coming your way, and we thank the folks at Hydrate Heroes. Back in 3. Stay with us. Are you looking to be more productive and healthier? Do you know chronic dehydration affects your overall health and well-being? 75% of the U.S. population suffers from dehydration, and many of us don't even know it. That was me before I was introduced to Hydrate Heroes. 8 times the benefits with hydration. A beverage with benefits more than just hydration. That's right, 8 times the benefits with hydration. Hydrate Heroes provides a refreshing, great-tasting beverage powder to mix with water, providing elderberry, zinc, vitamin D, electrolytes, amla fruit, which provides a great source of vitamin C, along with a proprietary mushroom blend that has shown to help increase endurance and energy at the cellular level. Hydrate Heroes is so confident you're going to love the taste and the results. They are offering our listeners a special offer, a free 3-pack sample, no credit card needed. Just go to the jppetersonshow.com, the jppetersonshow.com, and click on Hydrate Heroes logo. Hydrate for health today with Hydrate Heroes. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA 2-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group, because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. Hey, the Golden Diamond Source Memorial Day sale is on. You got a graduation coming up right now. You want to get a gift? What better way than to go to the Golden Diamond Source right now? Your destination for over 40 years, if you can dream it. They have it all under one roof. Folks, graduation gifts are very, very special. So get them something shiny, something that will last a lifetime. And that's the Golden Diamond Source. They have a tremendous selection there, great customer service. And of course, if you're selling or trading jewelry right now, you can get the highest trade-in value of the year for your diamonds. Upgrade today and use that money towards a graduation gift. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here, brought to you by the great folks at the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. If you have any issues, you've been in an accident, go with the local group and the folks that commit to our community. They sponsor many things down on Central Avenue in St. Pete, and also the Riverwalk in Tampa. They have offices in Tampa and St. Pete. So the Jeeves Law Group, they are local. They know the local landscape. So get on it if you have an accident or need anything involving an insurance company or a home builder or anything like that. The Jeeves Law Group will represent you vigorously. Get a free case evaluation by going to jeeveslawgroup.com. And the Golden Diamond Source Memorial Day sale is on. Get a $5,000 diamond for just $83 a month, 5 years, no interest financing. That's a big deal these days. So head on over to the Golden Diamond Source for their Memorial Day sale going on right now 40 years they've been in business, so they are trusted and they are local. So give them some business and tell them JP sent you. All right. I'm going to get to some of our great commenters here as we look at, by the way, you guys can comment each and every day. You can go onto our YouTube channel. You can do it at FanStream Sport, at FanStream JP on Twitter, and also on my Facebook page, JP Peterson. Follow that. And you can follow the show each and every day on our YouTube page, where I think most of these folks are. Yeezy says Cody Mock looks a lot better and looks more like a guard. Yeah, I saw him at the All-Star event. He looks like he's put on like 20, 30 pounds. And you see him out there, he just looks a lot bigger, which is good. James said Scott is correct. The Bucs get improved coaching from Bowles. The Bucs can be like the Lions this year and win 11, 12 games. We need the defense to play better. And if they don't, if they do, we can get to 11 plus wins. I see 10 wins on the schedule, but if this team is better than I think it is, and I think it could be more.
Yeah, I mean that is very contingent on Todd Bowles, though, taking an even further step than last year. I truly believe it's not as big of a discussion this year as it was going into last year, but Todd Bowles will always just be he's going to be lingering there in the back of my mind. Like, what's he going to do? Mm-hmm. What's he going to do? I hate to be like that, but again, he's been a head coach for 6 years and he's only gotten marginally better at that.
Yeah, he did get better last year. I think the more aggressive he gets, the better head coach he is. And I don't think
it's in there. I just wish it's in there. When you see games like Philly, I know it's in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the more aggressive he gets in terms of his game management, as aggressive as he is in calling plays defensively, he could be a lot better. Nathan says Dean needs to play closer and depend less upon his closing speed to bait quarterbacks.
Well, that's coaching, isn't it?
Yeah, that's coaching and technique. Absolutely. Christopher Cole, good morning to you. Asks, does anyone know who the Chargers quarterback was in Super Bowl 29? Now, I didn't look this up, but I'm just going to say Stan Humphries. Is that correct?
Let's check your work.
The great Stan Humphries.
Super Bowl 29.
I promise you, did not look it up. I could be wrong. It may have been what it was. Yeah.
Stan Humphries is correct.
Oh, ding, 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 ding.
And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have never heard of Stan Humphries until this very moment.
Well, I have a good Stan Humphries story for you. It involves Brett Favre. And here's a better trivia question. Those two squared off in a game, my first game I ever covered in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, 1987, I believe. I'm going to go check this. And Brett Favre came off the bench for Southern Mississippi in his freshman season because they were so dreadful offensively. And they were playing Northeast Louisiana, I believe, or Louisiana, one of those directional Louisiana schools where Stan Humphries was. And so once Stan Humphries lightened him up in Hattiesburg. And they bring Favre in, and I'll never forget, he throws a deep out on it. I think it was a deep out on one of his first passes on a line, like 25 yards. I'm sitting there about to fall asleep in the press box, and I was like, whoa, what the F was that? What kind of laser beam is coming out of this dude's arm? And Favre throws for like 370 yards. Humphries throws for, I think, 5+ in a game that turns out to be like 42-37 that the Humphries wins. So from that point on, I was a kind of a Stan Humphries fan. And I remember interviewing him in the locker room after we got done talking to Favre. We go over an interview, and I'm like, where's Stan Humphries? They point to this guy that looks like me at about age 37. Receding hairline, gut, hairy dude, about 6'1", 225, 230. And it's I'm like, that's
yeah. I don't know why, but
like, yeah. So we went over and interviewed him. I'm like, all right, good luck, brother. And he end up playing in taking the Chargers to the freaking Super Bowl.
That's I'm usually like really good with knowing the Super Bowl matchups, and I probably could go all the way back to like 96 on my memorization. And then like that early 90s era, and I know the Bills played in all of them clearly, but there's like some of them that I lose track of. Like I did not know the Chargers played in a Super Bowl in the early 90s. I sure as hell did not know.
Who did they lose to? They lost to the Redskins?
49ers. Sure as hell did not know that Stan Humphries was their quarterback, and I pulled up his stats here, and I'm like, that's a pretty decent 50-31 as a starter, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. 90s quarterbacks outside of the stars is like a blind spot for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't like Jim Harbaugh, for example. Like I always knew like, oh, he was a quarterback, but I didn't know he was like a quarterback for that long.
Yeah.
And like started games and stuff like that.
He was
And like
pretty
even
good.
Jim Everett, because I only knew Jim Everett because of that clip with him and Jim Rome.
Jim Rome, yeah.
And then I looked at his
Chris
career
Everett.
and I'm like, oh, he had a pretty decent career. I had
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah, the great Stan Humphries.
Stan
Yeah,
Humphries.
he could fling it.
There
So
you go. It's a history lesson.
Did they almost win? What was the score of that game? That Super Bowl 29. I'm trying to remember that.
Let me look. I had it all pulled up here. 49-26. It was not close.
It was not close. Okay. Scott wants to know what beer Light will be drinking on the cruise. He's been known to throw down a PBR.
I was going to say he's a light beer guy.
Yeah, I think he's a Miller Lite guy, or maybe Coors Light, more Coors Light. Which, come on, man, Coors Light, not even beer.
What? Hey, come on.
It's not. It's like beer mixed with water.
The only beers that matter in this world are the almighty Busch Light, the almighty Miller Light, and their second cousin Coors Light. That's it.
Is Busch Light the same as Natty Light?
I think Busch Light is far superior. I've had one Natty Light in my life.
Well, wasn't Natural Light? Wasn't that Busch made of? It's a Busch beer, right? Busch.
Listen, I don't have all the answers for you. I'm just saying Busch Light is the greatest beer on the face of the planet.
Wow, dude, your palate. No, not good.
Especially when the camo cans come out. Oof.
End of year Godwin will max out his 3-year deal, so he will make an entire $60 million. Not bad for coming off a horrendous injury 2 years ago. Most teams would not have done that. Yeah, maybe Godwin stays for less next year. I think he would. I think he would stay for less. I don't think they'll. What's the market going to be for him, especially now? I think that's a feeling in circles out there that you can go get a cheaper wide receiver. I think you're going to see wide receivers kind of go the way of the running back a little bit, because we're just producing so many good ones on a yearly basis.
I don't want to go into free agency and get any of them.
And when you're going to free agency, you're paying this premium of like, I mean, what was the last highest deal was what, 27 million? What did AJ get?
Yeah, he got around there, but I mean, he's like a guy that's
million.
But he's a guy that is worth, I would say, that price tag because he's in that upper echelon.
Right.
Like a good example is Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is 30 years old and was a little underwhelming last year. Yeah, you can't believe it, but he's already just about to be 30. He just signed on that. He just signed for 4 years, $92 million. Like you got to pay that much money to get a Calvin Ridley when you're going to be paying him until he's 33 and declining.
Yeah. That seems a little rich.
It is.
But I think you can feel if you've got a top 15, 20 pick, you're going to get a great receiver.
Oh yeah, I mean, in these receiver classes,
and let a guy walk.
Yeah, these receiver classes just get crazier and crazier, every single year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you had great receivers going in the early second round this year.
They were going in the third and fourth. Well, I thought. Look where the Bucs got McMillan.
Right, it's a perfect example. So I think, and so my point being with Godwin is I don't know what the market. He's not going to be a $20 million guy. I don't think. Depending on what he does this year.
I just gave you Calvin Ridley's contract, and who's better player? They're probably very comparable, but both kind of the same age.
It's not even close. Yeah, yeah. But and here's the thing: if he doesn't get that cheap shot from the Saints, and he had 1,000 yards that year because he'd already racked it up. But I think he, I think his numbers are probably those touchdown numbers aren't going down; they might be going up. So
look at this. I'm getting roasted in the comment section here.
Oh,
for my takes on beer.
Is this kid old enough to drink? Coors Light is what you sneak out back in high school when you step up to the adult table, IBA all day, at least 4 until you start making bad choices. That's the thing about Coors Light. Like, it's not, I don't even think it's humanly possible to get a beer buzz on Coors Light. I think because just the effort it's going to take to drink 12 cans and just the constant pissing that you have to do. Like, you can't get
it's an event.
It's a numbers game, blood alcohol level. It's a numbers game. I mean, I'm going to bet I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do it. I could chug a 6-pack of Coors Light and beat you in a game of chess, easy. Like I'm not even.
Well, you need to take into account that I'm 5'9", 160 pounds. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Let's. There's weight classes here.
There is. So that's true. So that's going to happen a little bit.
So
quicker.
4 for me is like my sweet spot.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of sipping an IPA.
I don't like that taste. I don't want that. I don't want that.
It is a bit of an acquired taste.
I don't want those hops or whatever they call them.
You don't like.
No, and I go out all the time these places, and people order these draft beers, and they come and it's like orange. I don't want that.
Yeah, the orange peel IPA. Had one of those the other day. It was outstanding. Nathan says, try a Motorworks Midnight Espresso. I had a coffee beer the other day. I liked it. I was like, whoa, that was good.
It's crazy. The furthest I stray from the light beer is I do like a good Guinness. I do enjoy a good Guinness at like an Irish. I know it's so cliche, but I really do.
Now, and it's secret of Guinness is people think it's a heavy beer. It's not.
Not.
It just looks heavy because it's like it's dark, so people are like, oh, it's sludgy, it's tarry. No, it's not. It's just that's how they brew it, what they use in it, and it's really not filling at all.
No,
compared to an IPA. I think an IPA is much more filling than a Guinness. No, a Guinness is actually fantastic. Where's the drop? Where's my Guinness drop? You don't have it? No, only Tim has it. Tim, if you're watching, Guinness drop. Clearly he's like, I'm logging in right now. If you haven't heard the Guinness drop, it's special. All right, anything else on here we need? What if 4 Coors Light? That's your limit? Who said that? Me?
No, I said that. Like 4's my like if I'm going to a night if I'm going just to have a nice chill night, okay, and I don't want to get like crazy or anything, 4 is like my limit. Like that keeps me within range of, and that's just me.
Here's some just to get it off you. Get the spotlight off you right now because that's embarrassing. 4 Coors Light, but responsible. I will say that. Nathan says, Scott, I will be joining you with the upgraded drink package. The old-fashioned station does not allow for the free drink package. Oh, you've got the upgrade to get the old-fashioned station. I'm not an old-fashioned guy, but I know it's all the rage now. Like, if you got to bring me a drink in like, some Beauty of the Beast, like thing that you have to put over it and it's all smoky. What are we doing?
A little too much going on there for me.
There's a lot, but just like too much theatrics, bro. Like, here's your drink. I mean, I've got smoke and mirrors coming this way.
It's like that place that I don't even know if people even go there anymore. That place, the Sugar Factory. Have you been there before? They have one there in Orlando.
I've seen the pictures. Yeah, it's crazy.
They have one by the Eye, and I think they have one at the casino here in Tampa. And it's the one where they come and all the drinks are smoking and everything. And they're just like these elaborate sugary. I don't know.
Yeah, that seems like girls' night out.
Very, very so. Very much so.
Yeah, that's it. That's which, of course, that's maybe where you want to be if you're into that. What else we got? Anything else here? Okay, let's get to your the Caitlin Clark take. I want to discuss this a little bit. The floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, so I saw this yesterday, and this started with a LeBron James clip that was going around yesterday. From his mind, I think it's Mind. I'm trying to scroll back to it here. I believe it's the Mind the Game podcast with JJ Redick. Mm-hmm. And I can't play it because there's some expletives in it. But he basically had the quote was, "Don't get it effed up. Caitlin Clark is the reason why a lot of great things are going to happen for the WNBA," and said the amount of hate she's getting is quote unquote the weirdest thing in the world. And then Charles Barkley had this response here. I can play this clip because this was on NBA on TNT. Mm-hmm. And to set it up here, let me pull it up for you. This was Charles Barkley responding to what LeBron had said.
You women out there Y'all petty, man. Hey, LeBron, you're 100% right on these girls hating on Caitlin Clark. Y'all petty, girls. I expect men to be petty because we're the most insecure group in the world.
Oh, you are.
Y'all should be thanking that girl for getting y'all ass private charters, all the money and visibility she bringing to the WNBA. Don't be petty like dudes. Listen, what she's accomplished, give her flowers. Stop being petty, all you women out there. She got y'all ass charters. She bringing all y'all this money to the table, but y'all being petty like dudes. LeBron, you 100% right. Y'all girls, stop being petty. Caitlin Clark, thank you for bringing all that money and shine to the WNBA.
Well, they're going to hate you.
What did Shaq say then? They're going to hate you.
They're going to hate you. Okay, so that was to set that up. And first of all, I think they're both 100% balls on accurate with that because she is getting a lot of hate. And I get it. When you reach that level of superstardom like she did, people start to want to tear you down. It's the thing I cannot stand the most about the culture of sports in this country is when you make it big time, everybody's waiting for your downfall. And it gets on my nerves so much. And here's my thing. There's all these discussions about Caitlin Clark and why she's resonating and this and that. And people bring up, well, it's her skin color or it's the fact that her sexuality, all these different things. And it's like, I can't speak for everybody else. I'll speak for myself personally. I've never cared about those things when it comes to Caitlin Clark or elite athletes. The reason why LeBron James caught on so much, and LeBron can speak to it because he was probably the last athlete really on that huge scale magnitude to come into the league and immediately been scrutinized from every moment, everything he did, right? When he came into the league 20 years ago. Do you want to know why LeBron James resonated with people? It wasn't because of the color of his skin. It wasn't because of any of that. You want to know why? Because you saw him play and you just saw him in general and went, that guy's different than everybody else.
That's right.
I want to watch him play.
That's right.
And that's why everybody resonated with Caitlin Clark is because the way she played the game was different than everybody, and she was just better than everybody at it. That's not to say there's not other great players that came into the WNBA with her this year. This was the greatest WNBA draft class probably of all time, and I'm going to highlight their names: Camila Cardoso, Angel Reese, Juju Watkins, Cameron Brink, Rakea Jackson, and so on. I get all that. But Caitlin Clark is the lightning rod right now, okay? Those girls are probably going to get some level of superstardom eventually, but right now, Caitlin Clark is the one who's pulling that wagon along. And if you haven't noticed, the WNBA is getting talked about more now than it probably ever has in the last 25 years that it's been a league. The ratings that we've already had from 2009 to 2023, there was not one WNBA game that drew over 1 million viewers. Caitlin Clark has already had 2 or 3 games. Indiana Fever.
Not to mention ticket sales.
Yes, not to mention ticket sales that have drawn over 1 million viewers. They have chartered flights finally. All these great things. And it really did. She is the lightning rod for it. I don't care why that is or why that's happening or what it's her. It doesn't matter. WNBA and women's sports is at the forefront of sports discussions for the first time maybe ever.
Right.
And so why are we questioning why it's happening? Can we just enjoy it? And eventually
No, we can't, Nick, because there are people and companies and agendas that make their living off of identity politics and identity sports now. We can coin this phrase, identity sports. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to come back on the other side and tell you why we've already lived through this once. And the people that were making the same mistake then will learn why it's such a stupid idea. If you have a little sense of history, you would know this. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side and we'll hit that. And there's a couple other things I want to get into: the FSU versus ACC and the NIL shenanigans with Jaden Rashada that is going to reverberate through all.
Don't forget my Brandon Lau take either.
Yes, and the Brandon Lau stuff. Quick break. We're brought to you by the great folks at the Golden Diamond Source. Their Memorial Day sale is going on right now. Get a $5,000 ring for just $83 a month. If she ain't worth $83 a month, she ain't the one. And she probably is. So get your ass over there to the Golden Diamond Source and get that done. All right? A quick break. Back in 3. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man Scott Jeeves, who lives right here and has long been a highly respected member of our community. He's a proud sponsor of the Tampa Riverwalk. Jeeves Law Group is also a proud sponsor of our Grand Central District in St. Pete and has neighborhood events throughout the year. He has an office on Central Avenue in St. Pete and one on South Howard in Tampa. You can't get more local than that. So when you need an attorney, are you going to hire some huge firm that advertises all over the state or the one that supports your favorite sports show? It's the Jeeves Law Group. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. For personal injury and personal attention, call us for a free case evaluation. That's 8889-JEEVES. That's 8889-JEEVES.
All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com.
JP here for Extravaganza Productions. You know, I've worked with these pros on so many big and small events. They recently did the Kappa Alpha Psi Grand Reunion, the Tampa RV Show Exhibit. They did the Skills Center opening of Tampa Bay. They can do those small events. They do the biggest of events. So if you were thinking about planning a meeting or special event, call the talented staff at Team EPI. They will give you a free creative meeting if you mention the JP Peterson Show. They will provide you with an exceptional experience. Heck, they'll even show you their huge warehouse with great props. Anything you want. They'll do it on time and on budget. You can reach them at their Tampa headquarters at 813-621-4700 or go to extravaganzaproductions.com. Tell them JP sent you.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Get your primary care physician to treat you like you should be treated, like Chris Lugo does over at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Nick's been there. I've been there. Scott Reynolds, Peter Blake. So many of my friends going over there because you get personal attention. You have a doctor that will spend more than 15 minutes with you and ask you, how are you sleeping? What's going on with your diet? What's your exercise routine? Tell me all about it. Let's see where we can make things better. See what you're doing right. See what you're doing wrong. How about your nutrition? What are you eating? What does your blood work look like? When's the last time your doctor went through all that with you? Exactly. Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. That's where you get your appointments. Rogue hair on right in the middle of my face. I hate when that happens. All right. So this is what you just laid out about Caitlin Clark. Almost verbatim. When Tiger Woods came to the PGA Tour, there were so many idiots out there that were like, oh, you might want to ask about somebody else to the media. The jealousy, the pettiness that Chuck talked about Tiger Woods. Oh, wait till he gets on tour and has to play the schedule that we have to play. Wait till he has a family. Wait till he does this. Wait till he does that. All these jealous guys out there. And somebody in leadership, whoever it was at the time, I forget who the commissioner was, maybe Dean B, I forget who it was, or maybe just the leadership on tour just said, guys, shut the F up. This guy is the golden goose. He's going to put hundreds of millions of dollars into your pockets in the tour. And the time Tiger Woods was in his prime, that's exactly what he did. The money went through the roof. Thank you, honey. Look at that. Look at that iced coffee brought to me right here. You're the best, babe. And they did the right thing. They shut the F up and maybe just checked themselves and said, and why am I upset about this? Why am I upset? Why can we not open the doors to a young superstar who is, was he a little bit cocky coming in? Some might have perceived it that way. I never thought that about Tiger at all. I just thought he was politely very confident. And he had respect for the game, tremendous respect for the game, tremendous respect for the people that came before him. And anybody who had a problem with Tiger Woods, that was on you, in my opinion. But that stuff did not last long. And I understand there's a little bit of professional jealousy that comes into this. But what's going on now with Caitlin Clark is so much worse because it's identity sports. It's about, she's a white girl. She's a white straight girl. And why are we even talking about this, Nick? I'm telling you, like, I've been in this business long enough to know you never talked about that stuff back in the 80s and 90s and even the early aughts. Nobody cared what your sexual preference was. Nobody cared what your color was. Nobody said anything about the way. It was can you play? Can you play or can you not play? And people would judge you, at least in the media, by how you performed. There was not, and here's the problem. Too many people have microphones who make their living off division. That's how they make their living. And it's just as much on the conservative side as it is on the other side at ESPN. It's just these people wouldn't have audiences if it wasn't for pandering to a certain political group. They're not smart enough. They're not good enough. They didn't do that before. And now they have huge audiences because they're pandering to a certain political bent. I honestly try not to do any of that and just look at people for how they play and how they affect the game. I'm told I can't say, why do we have to call them black quarterbacks? I'm told because I'm not black. I can't say that because I don't know what they've been through and you're diminishing them by saying they're black quarterback. Hell, Todd Bowles had to give some people around here a lesson on the fact that why do we have to talk about that? Why can't I just be a coach? Why do I have to be lectured on why I'm a black coach? And so many of these assistant coaches, they hate the Rooney Rule. They hate the Rooney Rule because if they feel like teams are just checking a box. And and this is exactly what's going on with Caitlin Clark. So, and we don't have to name names because I think that just becomes a bigger part of the problem. But you can see who they are out there. They're freely quoted, and just stop it. It's maddening. Look at the numbers that Caitlin Clark has put up.
Yeah,
not just in terms of the scoring she's done.
And by the way, she's become an easy target because the Fever are 0-5, and she is not playing nearly as well as she did at Iowa. Which again, when does that really ever happen? Usually, you come in and by the way,
didn't see that coming.
Exactly, and Diana Taurasi, and that's why I don't really mention her in regards to the because I know she got heat for the comment she made 2 months ago on one of those simulcast things about when she gets to the WNBA, it's not going to be as easy. That was an accurate statement because you're playing with grown women. It's the same thing when you're playing the college basketball and you're playing with grown men. There's always an adjustment curve, right? And she's going through that. She's not playing on a.
I saw that whole thing, and I definitely applauded her for the analysis, but the way she said it and the way she went about it was.
Yeah, and Deanna, from what I understand, that's Deanna being Deanna. But yeah, so she's struggling right now. But again, she's playing on. She went to the worst team in the league, clearly, with the Indiana Fever. Also, by the way, let's not lose sight of the fact that she played a full season of high intensity basketball at Iowa and went all the way to the national championship game. And there was not much time off between the draft and then going through training camp and now playing the games.
No time off.
It's kind of wild if you think about it. There's no break brutal. Right there. It's brutal. So I think there's reasons for that. I just think we just need to get off her back. We don't need to overanalyze everything she's doing. Her presence is great for the sport, and it's great for all of women's sports. And it's finally getting highlighted because it's turned itself into a good product. And she's the lightning rod, like I said, for that success happening. There's nothing wrong with saying that. That's not diminishing the impact of the players that came before her. This is a business conversation, and she is good for business.
Yes, 100%. And Chuck was right. And again, can we just stop?
Just enjoy what you want. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy the renaissance of women's sports. Isn't that what everybody wanted?
Yeah.
And now it's happened, and now we're overanalyzing everything. Like, I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
And it happened with Harrison Butker, and Pat Mahomes came out yesterday and supported his kicker. And I thought a very, very reasoned explanation of the whole thing, and showed tremendous leadership. And he said, look, there's a few things in that speech that I don't agree with, but I see this guy show up each and every day, and he's a really good human being. I know who he is as a person.
And hell, even about to the Harrison Butker thing, and I usually don't like talking about these things, but I've seen all the discourse on this, and it's like, if you disagree with what he had to say, hell, there's things he said that I don't agree with. And I've had these conversations with my wife, like, hey, did he say anything out of line to you? And she said, yeah, I didn't like this, and this, and I think this was the wrong thing. Like, okay, I've heard that feedback, and I'll listen to your feedback like we're supposed to do on why you disagree with what he said. But when we're just shouting expletives at each other on a freaking Twitter app, and we're calling for him to lose his job over this is ridiculous. And the fact that the NFL has to put statements out for this stuff is the most ridiculous thing. And then Andy Reid gets asked about it.
Walking that back, by the way.
And then Andy Reid gets asked about it, by the way, yesterday, which you knew what was going to happen. And people are like, oh, Andy took the easy way out. Let me enlighten you people on how the world works, okay? When you are really good at something, I mean top class. And Harrison Butker is probably the best kicker in football, and if not, the second best kicker in football. And he's got 3 Super Bowl championships to prove it and all the numbers, okay? When you are really good at something, even if you say something that people might perceive as out of line or disagree, there is a longer leash on you. There just is. That's the reality we live in. I can guarantee you right now, nobody in that building gives a damn what he said. They don't. What they care is that Harrison Butker shows up every Sunday, Saturday, Thursday, Monday, whatever the game is nowadays, and he kicks his field goals and they go through the uprights. That's all they care about.
57 yards with ease.
That's all they care about. So, and that's a separate conversation. You disagree with him, fine. He has the right to say what he has, just as the same as you have the right to say, well, I don't like what he said. Cool. But that's it. We don't have to call for his job to be lost over it.
And be replaced by a female kicker just because she's a female. I have nothing against female kickers, but you have a major newspaper in the Kansas City Star saying that Harrison Butker should be thrown off the Chiefs and replaced by a female kicker just because she's female. Stay in your lane, editorial dude. You know nothing about football, clearly. Nothing. Yeah, and I applaud Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid for standing up in this situation and saying what they said.
They agree with everything he said. It's not even that.
No,
it's just he has his opinion. He has his opinion, and not everybody in the same locker room has to share the same opinion on everything.
And not only that, but so much of what he said has been completely taken out of context. Completely, like he was lecturing the women there that they must stay in the home and become a mother and don't use their degree. He never said that.
And that's my thing.
In his experience, his wife is extremely happy, and statistics do show that married women are happier than women who are in the workplace.
And if your situation is different, fine. And even if you concentrate on the other things he said that were concerning politics and everything else, listen, athletes have a platform to say what they want, and they should be able to have that platform. And there are things that we as a sports community, like, I think we're a lot better now with stuff like that than we were even, 8 years ago.
Right.
With, the incident that I'm talking about, clearly.
Well, listen, and by the way, everybody wants to say without question, Colin Kaepernick was blackballed. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Not any more than Tim Tebow was. Not any more than Tim Tebow was. Guys that can't play or don't want to play, in his case, don't want to play and are doing their best to play. That's a whole different deal.
Well, my point with that is what he said about the political things and everything, because he said some things about Biden and whatever, and I don't really care. Just the same way I don't care what LeBron James says about politics, and they're completely different. I just don't care. You have your opinion on what he said, cool, but it stops there. It stops there, and we don't need to ask the NBA, oh, can I get a quote now for what the commissioner thinks about what LeBron said about? No, we don't do that.
You don't need to be putting out
statements. You don't need to be doing that.
And the NFL putting out a statement about it was the dumbest thing ever. Now Roger Goodell has to walk that back.
And then people are like going after Goodell for what he said. Like Goodell's supposed to choose a side or something. No, he's the commissioner of the league.
Exactly. And it's like, you have to choose a side so I can hate you or love you.
Right. Like, and just so we could spout off 140 characters on our damn Twitter machine. Like,
no, listen, and I say this all the time. It's like there's a lot of stuff that LeBron James says that I don't agree with. And there's, I feel there's a lot of things that he's involved with that aren't helping society.
But do you really think less of him as a person because of it?
No. And I certainly don't think less of him as a basketball player. He is, at his age, the most incredible player in the history of the game. And that's not even debatable.
I just think in general, we need to do a better job. Yes, sometimes people go too far with what they say. And if you think Harrison Butker went too far with what he said, God bless you, whatever. I don't care. But I think in general, we go too far with this person disagrees with me. So now I don't think they should be able to have a platform for anything. They shouldn't be able to do this or that. Like, why can't we just disagree and move on? I say this all the time. I've had the same friend group set for the last decade, probably, and I'm very lucky to have that. You think I agree with my friends about everything related to the world? You think your friends that you have agree with everything you say about the world? Probably not. But we're still friends.
Yeah. It's and that's what's lost in all of this, is that we can't disagree with people and still be friends with them in this world we live in. Hey, you have to cancel that other person. Even if you agree with 80% of what they said, the 20%, there's a couple of things in there that are non-negotiable, which is bananas. Absolutely bananas. All right. Let's get to some of the comments. Andy Reid can't say anything controversial. Son hurt someone. Yeah, that's for sure. The DUI before the Super Bowl is players racing cars and punching cameramen. Again, Andy Reid is not doing those things, but his players are, and those are issues. I'm not canceling Andy Reid, and he certainly, Rick, should. You can still have an opinion on things, but I do agree that it's hard for him to say anything controversial. That's for sure. Rick says, you're right, JP. Nobody cared about color and gender in 80s and 2000s, but especially nobody cared about the WNBA. That's true. So, if you're playing in the NBA, you should realize that. All right. Do you have some things to say about Brandon Lau defenders?
Yeah, as I've gotten calm, I'm trying to calm myself down because I don't fire it up like this, really.
It's good to be fired up on a show like this.
Some of these topics just have broken me a little bit.
Bring the passion. People like that.
Okay, so with Brandon Lau, listen, I want to preface this that Brandon Lau has done great things. We love Brandon. I wish Brandon could turn it around. I'm not rooting against his success or anything like that. And he's not the only one at fault in this lineup. Okay. And Lord knows we've documented that on today's show, right? There's I went through Randy's numbers. He needs to pick it up too. But when it comes to Brandon Lau, more so than any player on this team, it's like he's coddled in this with a segment of this fan base, JP. He's very coddled.
Yeah.
There is a segment of this fan base, and again, this is Twitter, that you say anything negative about Brandon. Man, they just come out of the woodwork, and they're posting these fan graph pages and they're telling me about the exit and this and that on his all these numbers to try to quantify why he's going to start turning it around and why he's a great player and everything. And I'm judging from what I'm seeing in the present day. When these people talk about Brandon Lau, they want to tell me about what he did. I'm telling you what he's doing right now. And what he's doing right now is a whole lot of nothing. And what's wrong with saying that? Because if you're telling me he's such a great player and he's the most important player on this team, then I have the right to hold him to a higher standard than the other players on this team. No?
Yes.
Okay. And here's the thing. You want to bring numbers in my face and everything and tell me I don't know what the hell I'm talking about? I'll give you numbers. From 2022 to 2024, that's a 2.25 of a season sample size, or 2 1/3 third sample size here of games. 185 games. Only 185 games played, by the way, during this time. Always hurt. 222 batting average, 724 OPS, and 104 OPS plus, which means he's slightly above average as a hitter. And he's not a great fielder. We've already established that long ago. and he's getting older, and the injuries are continuing to pile it up. And I just gave you the numbers. Don't give me his numbers from 2019. Don't give me his numbers from 2020. Please don't give them to me from 2021. That was pre all these injuries and him getting older and everything else that's happened. Those are his numbers in the recent modern time, and none of that indicates that he is a great player like you try to preach and tell me that he is, and I can hold him to a great standard, and I can tell you that Brandon Lau should be better than that. And I'm tired of these people coming out of the woodwork and trying to silence anybody who tries to criticize Brandon for his play. No, he's not the only one that is to blame. That is true. But again, I'm holding him to the standard that you are holding him to, that he's the best player in this lineup, and he's not getting it done.
Well, and now that Junior Caminero is being, cross-trained at second base and third base.
Right. The Rays are legitimately telling you. They're telling you without telling you that they are grooming someone to take his spot.
Well, and then Brandon Lau's keeping him from getting up here. And he's 0 for 11 since he came back, and it's a small sample size.
It doesn't change what I said, by the way. I hope Brandon tomorrow night comes out and goes on one of these hot streaks again. I wish he'd get it right. But
my experience has
eventually you have to pull the plug.
Older people with bad backs don't get better.
No, and by the way, we had Matt Joyce on this program going into the season, and I brought up Brandon Lau to him, and he said I'm a little worried about Brandon because of all the injuries piling up. We're not just pulling this out of thin air. We're not pulling this out of thin air. He's in the last year of his contract, and I would venture to tell you he's not going to be on this team next year.
No. And we're paying him, you want to get your money's worth, blah, 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 blah. And look, at this point, I think the Rays are like, what chance do we have? I mean, if this guy doesn't get hot, we're sunk. Well, I got news for you. There might be a guy at AAA that can probably play better and is the future of your franchise. So let's get him up here and let's let him play. Let him get used to the major leagues. It can't be worse. It literally can't be worse than 0-11. Not to mention the bonehead play he makes the other night to lose the game.
And he should already be up here now, because if you pay attention recently, have you seen Harold Ramirez playing lately?
No,
you haven't. He's been sitting. He's sitting. He's not even doing anything right now. He hasn't played. He hasn't played in like 5 of the last 6 games.
But people love him. He's got blue hair.
But I think as a Rays fan base, we're all on this. That's the one thing we all can agree on, is that Harold Ramirez should not have a spot on this team anymore.
No.
And that should be Junior Caminero's spot.
Remake the team. And, we've got more than Junior Caminero at AAA. What's his name? The other guy that begins with a C. I'm brain farting right now.
You're talking about Carson Williams? He's in double A.
No. The guy that's leading AAA in home runs.
Ruben Cardenas. And
Cardenas.
By the way, I mentioned it earlier, is Caminero doesn't come up for Josh Lowe, assuming he goes to the IL, it could be Cardenas that comes up. He's got 10 home runs down there, and he hasn't had any big league play yet. I don't know, but
what are we doing? We got the worst offense in the league, literally.
You need a jolt.
We're tied for the worst.
You need a jolt.
Yes. What could it hurt? What could it hurt? I mean, get some juice going in this franchise, for God's sakes. I mean, I'm just like, the games are boring as can be. Maybe they're like, we don't want to get rid of a popular player, at this time while we're trying to get the stadium deal done. No. What we don't want to see is turn on the TV every night and just see just the most boring crap you've ever seen in your life. I mean, it's bad.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how, if you even the most diehard Rays fan, and I get it, you're a fan, you're a fanatic. Hell, I'm a fan, and you want to be positive about everything, but that's not reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not reality.
I want to get to this because we missed it yesterday. We don't have a lot of time to get to it because it's a longer discussion, but I think you guys saw the other day, Rusty Hardin, the famous attorney that defended Roger Clemens, done a lot of sports stuff, is now representing Jaden Rashada, who famously had a $13.5 million NIL deal with the Gators next. And they have specifically targeted Billy Napier in the lawsuit, the head coach, because according to the lawsuit, Napier promised that they were going to deliver $1 million payment as soon as he signed his deal, and none of that ever happened. And I believe he did sign the deal, and then they let him out of it because, of course, they reneged on the $13.85 million deal. It also had to do with bidding war that was going on with the Hurricanes and the guy down there that runs their collective, Diaz. So you had, two big programs in the state of Florida, basically in a bidding war for a quarterback. And according to Rashada's team, the Gators promised a lot of stuff to get him to sign and then never delivered. There was a booster, Hugh Hathcock, who clearly said he was going to send a $1 million payment to him, and it never happened. Through an NIL deal, he has a car dealership, et cetera, et cetera. And so many of these deals are like so murky, you don't know where the money's coming from. But Rashad signed a contract. All the money was, supposedly laid out, but the payments were never made. Now, how Billy Napier is the one that they're suing and not the University of Florida, I don't understand. There's probably some legality that's involved in that. But again, this is not Gator bashing. This is NIL bashing and the whole situation that's going on right now. Because Billy Napier, I can tell you, is not the first coach or the only coach that promised things to players in terms of NIL that did not materialize. And if this is the case, every freaking head coach in America is going to be sued, which just brings up, further the major issues behind all these NIL things that are going through in terms of legislative things. We're dealing with that in Florida in terms of NIL for high school players, which obviously should be allowed, in my opinion, but we've got to put some controls on this. We have controls over a lot of different things in our capitalistic society. There are SEC rules for stocks, a lot of different things. We can do this with some forethought and some fairness, but it seems like nobody in college football wants to take their oar in legislative circles, that wants to take the leadership role here and get this done, because there's going to have to be a lot of hard choices that are made. But I can tell you this, with this lawsuit, this is going to reverberate through the entire system. And I think coaches are just going to throw their hands up and go, what do I need this for? I'm going to be sued for a multi-million-dollar issue because I'm trying to recruit a player. Completely bizarre. And where this goes is going to it's going to affect college football across the board. It really is. All right. Anything else we need to get to?
I think that'll do it. I've riled myself up enough today. Great
job, Nick. We love it when you bring the passion. Thank you guys for all the comments as well. Well over 100 comments today. Thank you very much. Appreciate all the viewership as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, The JP Peterson Show and FanStream Sports. We need to get our subscribers up, so we really appreciate if you would do that. Just take a minute to go on there on YouTube and do that. Also, our podcast as well on Apple and Spotify. Anywhere you get your podcast, please like and subscribe there. We will be back tomorrow with more fun and frivolity. We will see you then.